Hello queens and kings, my name is Thandeka Shabangu. Welcome to my channel. If it is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. Welcome to this tutorial where we'll be doing our pineapple earrings because spring has sprung in South Africa and it's time for us to be nice and bright and happy. So what materials we'll be using for this tutorial? We're going to be using our 11 knot size zest beads. We're going to be using our gold beads, our yellow beads, and our green beads. We're also going to be using our thread, our nylon thread. I'll show you, I'll put on the screen the size of the nylon thread. We're going to be using our needle. We're also going to be using a material called a leatherette. Other people call it ivory. It's like fake leather. Yeah, but I'm going to show it as we are going to be working on the project. So this tutorial is going to be in two parts. The first part, we're just going to be looking at how we can cut out our pineapple structure and how we're going to add our beads on our pineapple structure. And then the second part, we're going to be doing our finishing touches where we're going to be adding the stud to our earrings and completing our earrings and making our earrings gorgeous. So let's get started. Okay, so for now, this is the leather, the fake leather I was talking about. This is the leather that we're going to use. And then you're going to take, this is my stencil. I took a random paper and I traced a pineapple shape and then I cut it out. You can also draw your pineapple freehand, and then the only trick is you have to make sure that the remaining pineapples that you're going to cut out have to be the same shape as the original one. So if you draw your pineapple freehand, you cut it out and then you trace using that original pineapple. Yes, so that's how you're going to go about. But this is the stencil that I usually use. What I did, I draw on a piece of paper and then I also shaded the borders of the pineapple, and then I added a sellotape just to make it thick and easy so that it lasts longer. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to trace the shape of the pineapple throughout my leatherette. I have to cut out 4 pieces of the pineapple. They all have to be the same side. So I'm going to trace number 1, number 2, number 3, and pineapple number 4. When I'm done, I am going to cut out those pieces. So now I'm going to do that TikTok transition. When you click your fingers, you are done. So I'm just going to trace and then I come back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And ta-da! Now I've traced out my pineapples. So throughout I used the front, this part, this part, this part, and this part. There was no part where there's no pineapple that traced maybe the back because it's going to be different. That's what I mentioned. That's why I did mention in the beginning that if you're going to do your freehand, make sure that the remaining 3 pineapples are going to be the same exact shape as the original pineapple that you're going to draw. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut out the pineapple. So to make a pair, which is 2 earrings, you need 4 pineapples from your leatherette. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to cut out my pineapples. So these are the pineapples. They are cut out and ready to make earrings. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take 2 and I'm going to put them aside. Only 2 that I'll be working on and adding beads on them. So now I also want to create these borders. So I'm just going to use my free hand and just copy. It's not going to be as accurate. I want to draw these lines. Then the lines will cross nicely. And here we are. So now I have to make sure that the lines that I've drawn here are the same as here. So this is the, oopsie, this is the first line. The second line. The third line. And the fourth line. And then, oopsie, the first, hey, this one is a bit hard, eh? Second, third, and fourth. Izamme. Izamme. Okay, so this is how the pineapples are. So now we're going to move on into our beads. So these are the beads that I'll be using, my gold beads. They are called glass bugle beads. These are the beads that I'll be using, the gold beads. I got them from Pay and Save. This is a fabric shop. They have nice beads, the beads that they use for sequences and stuff like that. These are not Zesh beads, they are glass bugle beads. So you get your gold glass bugle beads. So the gold is going to go on top of these lines. They're going to create these borders for our pineapple. So now I'm going to take my needle and my thread. This, I'm just going to put a picture up of the kind of thread that I'm using. Yes, that's the thread that I am going to be using. So now I'm going to tie my knot. I want to tie 2 knots. Knot number 1, knot number 2. And then I have my knot. So I'm going to start poking the corners. Make sure you're not too much at the end because it will come out. It will slide out. Now I'm going to pick my beads. So these are 3 of my bugle beads. I'm going to push them to the end. So what I'm going to do, make sure they're steady. Insert my needle. This. And then I'm going to go behind 1 bead. Behind the first bead. Here's my needle. It's behind the first bead. I'm going to poke facing outwards. And then I'm going to insert my needle into the last bead. And then I move. So this is how it is. So doing that last process helps the beads to be steady and to sit flat. So now I think I'm only going to need two more beads. I pick Let me measure it so that I can be sure. Yes. There's one bead that is a bit shorter than the first one. Push them to the end, and it's looking good. So I'm going to insert my needle and pull. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep on adding these buckle beads throughout the border, the lines that I created. So now for me it's closer to move across. So I'm just going to poke here. Oh, here's another thing. We did not make sure that the second last bead is inserted. So first I'm going to add my needle behind the first bead, and then I insert my needle into that first bead, and then I'm going to insert my needle downwards into the pineapple. So the first line is completely done. So the beads are flat, nice and flat. So now I'm going to go across using this line, using my buckle beads. Set my needle here. So this is how we're going to move. So I'm going to pick 3 beads, push them to the end. Once they are nice and settled, I insert my needle. Then I insert my needle behind the first bead. Then I pull, and ta-da! So I'm just going to move down, and then I'm going to continue creating the borders throughout. Just move around with your needle. So because I'll be here, maybe I'll take this line and move. Just make sure that all the lines are covered using these beads. These beads, they're nice because they're easier to work with, because they're much quicker, because they're long. Yes, so I'll come back once I'm done with the borders. So now it is complete. We are now going to add our yellow. So the yellow, we're going to add it into our borders. This is the yellow code that I'll be using, and let's get into it. So you first have to decide what direction. Oh, another thing, the gold part, you also can do it using your zest beads. That is okay. Or you can use these beads. It's okay too. Okay, so now you first have to decide what direction your lines are going to be pointed. Will they be moving this side, or will they be moving that side? Or will they be moving that side? It will all be up to you. So our focus will be inside our block. So we're going to do one block at a time. So I insert my needle inside a block. I'm going to add my beads. So I pick up 4 of my zest beads, push them to the end, and oopsie, I insert my needle. I make my following row. I pick up my beads. I think I'm going to pick up 4 beads, between 4 or 3 beads. Oh, my 3 beads fit perfectly. I insert my needle. Now I work on my 3rd row. I'm going to pick up 4 beads. Let me start with 3. I'm going to start with 3 and see later if maybe I will need to add 1 more bead. This is my 3. I'm going to need 1 more bead. I have to pull slowly to avoid making knots. Then this is my last row. I think here I might need 5. I'm not sure. Just from measuring from my eyes, from just what I'm seeing, I think I might need 4. So this part is a trial and error. Whether it will depend on the kind of block you are filling in. Maybe you might need 4 beads, maybe you might need 3. There are parts where you might need only 1 bead. So it will all depend on how many beads you need to fill up. So my first block is done. I move on to my second block. So this is how your pineapple looks like once you've filled all the blocks. So this is also what I meant when I'm sorry, when I mentioned that your lines have to all be moving in the same direction. As you can see, the beads, the line of the beads, they're moving downwards. So moving on to the next part, we're going to be doing this green part of our pineapple. So what we're going to do, we're going to grab our gold bugle beads again and our thread and our needle. So I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to poke it right at the center, just at the bottom like this. I'm going to make 3 lines using my gold beads. This part, the gold just makes the green pop out nice. So I'm going to start with the center line. I'm going to pick up 2 of my gold beads. I push them down like this, and then I poke my needle. Make sure that our beads are nice and steady. And then you poke at the center in between the 2 beads. You poke your needle at the center like this, like we have been doing when we add 3 beads. But now I'm going to insert my needle and go back and move back like this. Then I poke back. Then I insert my needle again, doing the second line on my left hand side. I pick up my 2 gold beads. Here are my 2 gold beads. I push them to the end, and then I put them nicely. Just make sure that they're nicely. Poke and pull your needle once you have measured correctly. This. Then you poke your needle in between the two beads and you insert your needle then you poke at the end. Now we're going to create our last line, our third line on our right hand side next to the line that's at the center. We want to do the same process. We're going to pick up 2 gold beads. Here's your 2 gold beads. You push them to the end and you measure here. Once you have measured, you insert your needle and you pull your thread. You poke in between your 2 gold beads like this, and then you insert your needle like this and you pull, and then you poke back. So this is how your earring is going to look like at the top. So we are done with our gold beads. Now we're going to start using our green beads. So we're done with our gold beads. We're going to put them on the side. We're going to use them again later, but now we're going to focus on our green beads. So this is the green beads that I'll be using. So what we're going to do now, we're going to add our green beads. So the trick with the green beads is that they all have to be pointed upwards. So we're going to start here on the side like this. So we're just filling in. We are actually working around our gold beads. So we're creating the leaves, the leafy part of the pineapple. So here I picked up 4 beads. Just gonna poke nicely here and make sure that everything is nicely intact. Then I pull. You're going to do the same process where you move at the back, you poke your needle in between the 2 green beads. Then I'm going to insert my needle into the 2 beads like this, and then I pull. So this is to make sure that your green beads are nice and steady. So I'm just gonna add 2 more beads. And as you can see, the 2 beads fit nicely. There we go. So I'm just going to poke Next to the green line that we just created, now I'm going to be moving down. So whatever lines we're going to create, they're all going to be moving. They're all going to be straight, representing our leaves. So I'm just going to pick up 4 green beads. These are my 4 green beads. Then I push them to the end. And then I check if they fit nicely. Once they fit nicely, you start to poke your needle. And then I poke in between the 2 beads. I insert my needle into the 2 beads. And then I'm ready again to complete my line. I think I might need 3 green beads to make a nice straight line. Let's see if it fits nicely. Oh yes, look how it fits so nicely. And then I poke. Oh, I actually can push it up until this side. So I go back, insert my needle into the last bead, and then I pick up, I think I'm going to need 3. So this part is all about filling in the blank spaces. So there's no right amount of beads that you're going to need to use. These are my 3. So as you can see, look how the 3 beads I've added fit nicely. Hey, I must make sure that I'm not getting knots. So I have to pull slowly. You see, I'm already getting knots. Okay, I sorted out my knot problem, so I pulled my needle. Then once I am done, I'm going to go back and poke. Oops. Nazog. Here we go again. Okay, here we are. So I'm going to create one more line. Yeah, so this is how you're going to be moving throughout when you're creating your leaves. Just make sure that your lines are moving to outwards so that your leaves can be nice. And you know how leaves are supposed to be situated, they have to be nice and leafy. But I'm just going to continue with this part. You work around your gold parts, just create your green lines, and then I'm going to come back and show you how it is once I've done with the leaves. So I'm finally done. So this is how I did the leaves of our pineapple. So the lines are straight, they're going outwards, they're pointed outwards. So this is how it is. So this is where we're going to stop, queens and kings. On the next part, we're going to add the studs to our pineapple and make it a complete earring. Thank you so much for watching. I am going to see you on the next video. Remember to love yourself, respect yourself, honor yourself, and have fun. If you love the content that you're seeing, please consider subscribing. See you on the next video. Bye.